like hiring another lawyer.
Or do we have another train?
I know. We're getting the pond in shape. People are, yeah, there are people, a lot of people going out there. Huh? A lot of people fishing? Yeah. They're putting their gates up.
It says
Wow.
8:59.
Have to get the key.
Okay, thank you.
We have to gate it because too many people are going.
Everybody worries about that. Yes. They're doing some work on the road there too. A young man I know from Markham called me and wanted permission to go on the road to take the machine to go under the bridge there.
Okay, it's 9 o'clock, so we will begin. This is the King County Transportation Committee for Tuesday, May 18th, 2021. Roll call, please.
Berman,
Berman here.
Igbo,
Iqbal present.
Kenyon,
Kenyon here.
Caius,
Caius present.
Kopi, Oniki,
Present.
Shepro, Martin,
Present.
Fraz.
Here. So we do.
Thank you.
Quorum. Could I have a motion and a second to approve our minutes from April 20th, 2021?
Caius move.
Moved by
Woniki
second.
seconds.
Moved by Caius, second by Woniki. Any questions, comments, or corrections? Seeing none, roll call.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Igbo,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Kopi, Oniki,
Yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
passes.
Okay, minutes are approved. Public comment, is there anybody present? I don't think so. Is there anybody online that would like to make public comment to the committee? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 4, which is very special for us. This is called Slow Down, Move Over. This is in memoriam of Steve Chittister, one of our great employees that was, we lost in a road work accident. And we have his wife Lorraine here to give a presentation. So welcome back. And Lorraine's also an employee of IT department.
Thank you for having me today. If you don't know me already, my name is Lorraine Chittister, and I work here in the Kane County GIS Technologies Department under IT. On May 19th, 2016, my life changed drastically as my husband, Stephen Wayne Chittister, also known as Ched, was killed at work while working for Kane County Department of Transportation in a way that was totally avoidable. It left me with guilt, worry, and grief. How do I live when my heart is gone? And for a long time, I wish it was me that was dead and not him. I lost my husband. Mom and dad lost their son. Sisters lost their brothers. Brother-in-law lost their brother. Nieces and nephews lost their uncle. Extended family lost their grandson and or nephew. Best friends lost their brother from another mother. Friends lost their friends. The world lost a genuinely amazing man. I had to notify 2 people that stand out to me the most about his death. The 2 worst were his parents and my best friend, Christy. I can still hear the terror in my best friend's voice. I can still hear his mom scream and his dad stating he didn't want to live anymore. I was completely in shock and numb for months. I lost my real connections to all my family and friends as we were all grieving in different ways. I lost parts of my job because I was out of the office. Every day I pushed forward to do the best I could, stumbling around trying to keep my head above water. I was in counseling for 4 years and I had 1 month of outpatient care. I knew nothing was going to bring him back and I had to figure out how to live my new normal by myself. The hardest part, that is, I didn't get to say goodbye to my husband. The last memory that I have of him is at 3 a.m. that morning, him coming out to the living room and saying, Lorraine, you're gonna be worth, I can't swear, blah, 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 tomorrow because you're gonna be so tired. Walked into the kitchen in his underoos, ate his bowl of cereal, and went back to bed. Little did I know that was the last time I'd hear his voice. Steve had a way with everyone. I miss everything about him. On May 19th, 2021, which is tomorrow at 10:41, please pause what you're doing for 1 minute in memory of Steve. I have too many memories to list, as I was married to Steve for 20 years. I will pick one, and I will let you know it is truly a sad one. On September 9th, 2004, we lost our daughter. The strength that he showed me during that time was incredible. He cared for me in a way that I didn't realize I could love him any more than I already had. What still makes me sad is that he will miss every graduation, every wedding, any sports achievements of his nieces and nephews behind me, and the ones that are at home. He won't be here for family gatherings, camping, holidays, and that left a huge hole in the entire family. I ask that you all take into consideration that your driving privileges are just that, privileges. Don't drive distracted and watch out for workers on the road, as well as emergency personnel. Drive like it's your family working and you want them to return home each night. I gave you each a rock, and the rock symbolizes Steve. I ask that you put the rock somewhere on your property to just hold a little memorial tomorrow, wherever you want to put it in your yard, and then just think of him always, and don't drive distracted. I've created a video for you all to see, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lorraine. We appreciate you being here, and we all miss Steve, and thanks for your strength and keeping his memory alive.
Thank you.
So, and will you leave this up for us to see after the meeting? Yeah.
Of course, of
Okay.
course.
Thank you.
Mhm.
You were 43 when you got the news. Life will be changing, nothing we can do. The clock is ticking now. All I can think about is knowing I have to move on without you somehow. And I just can't believe that you're the one who's keeping it together. As you hold my hand and say, it's okay to cry, it's okay to fall apart. You don't have to try to be strong when you are not. And it may take some time to make sense of all your thoughts, but don't ever fight your tears, 'cause there is freedom in every drop. Sometimes the only way to heal a broken heart is when we fall apart. You asked me to sing some songs that I wrote. I can barely speak, barely play a note. All my tears rush in, falling on my strings, and make the sound of these progressions have a different ring. And I hate to say goodbye, knowing this will be the last time we're together. As you close your eyes and say, it's okay to cry, it's okay to fall apart. You don't have to try to be strong when you are not. And it may take some time to make sense of all your thoughts, but don't ever fight your tears, 'cause there is freedom in every drop. Sometimes the only way to heal a broken heart is when it's been a while since you've been gone. And sometimes I still catch myself trying to call your phone. All the hopes and dreams we used to talk about, they're still alive in me, and I just hope I make you proud. Now I'm your legacy, and it's your love still holding me together. And I still hear you say, it's okay to cry, it's okay to fall apart. You don't have to try to be strong when you are not. And it may take some time to make sense of all your thoughts, but don't ever fight your tears, 'cause there is freedom in every drop. Sometimes the only way to heal a broken heart is when we fall apart. It's okay to fall. Sometimes the only way to heal a broken heart is when we fall apart.
Okay, well, thanks again, Lorraine, for that, and all the family members. We appreciate you being here, and we'll always remember Steve. And
Hi, the movie must be over. Thank you for watching. As you can see, distracted driving still affects the Chittister family and friends up to this day, and probably will forever. So please don't drive distracted. And tomorrow on May 19th, 2021 at 10:41 a.m., please take a moment of silence and honor Steve's memory. Again, don't drive distracted. Thank you, have a good day, and God bless you all.
thanks again. Thanks for being here, and we'll certainly keep all this in mind. And I know anybody that's ever worked in traffic knows how unforgiving it is. And drivers just assume they have the right of way no matter what's going on in front of them. So thanks again. Okay, we'll move on to our finance report, item number 5. Tom?
As far as item number 5, I just wanted to, hold on one second. For some reason, I can't advance. There it goes. I just wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about the upcoming budget efforts. Ms. Hopkinson is in the audience, and she's starting to work on different efforts in regards to our budget efforts. And I did want to just spend a couple minutes this morning just talking a little bit about some of our guiding principles, as well as some of our revenues. This will be a brief presentation, and then next month and the month after that, you'll see a little bit of more details. But our primary focus is on public safety. The maintenance and preservation of our existing roadway system is priority for us. And then we also look at our essential public services, the snow plowing and ice control, traffic operations such as the signals and signage and striping, and then permitting. There's a lot of utilities. Kurt Nike is here. I'm guessing there's over 160 different utility companies that utilize our right-of-ways. So it's a pretty large effort that occurs in permitting activities, as well as we have to deal with oversized, overweight trucks, and then various development activities that are occurring along the roadway. The other guiding principles are leveraging local funds with various federal and state funds. This is important because it's hard to accept federal and state funds unless we have matching funds, which typically is anywhere from about 25 to 50% of the overall cost for a project. So to have those local funds available is critical for us. And then supporting economic development. This has always been an important component where we work with municipalities in order to look at what we can do as far as access, as well as appropriate improvements that will assist with mobility and access. And then the last thing I want to mention is that there's no impact to the general fund. We have our own separate transportation funds. As far as the revenue sources, I'm just going to see if I can move this over slightly. As far as the revenue sources, our primary revenue source is the transportation sales tax. This is the RTA sales tax that went into effect a little over a decade ago. This is where most of our capital projects come from. About 2/3 of that fund that we receive, we utilize for maintenance, and about 1/3 of it we utilize for the matching funds or for the capital projects that are above and beyond our typical maintenance and safety projects. So it's a very important funding source. A good percentage of that funding source goes towards bridge maintenance. The next one, the second item down, is the motor fuel tax. This pretty much all goes into our maintenance operations. It primarily pays for our maintenance staff as well as other different maintenance activities. And then our local option motor fuel tax. This is the 4 cents that the county approved about 15 years ago or so that we utilize for different maintenance projects as well as our salt acquisition. This is an important, very important motor fuel tax. Again, it's locally designated by the county board. We collect it by the approval of the county board. It was mentioned, I think about 2 months ago, by one of the members of the committee that the law was recently changed, and that is correct. The law does now accommodate increasing. The county board has the ability and the option to increase that 4 cents up to 8 cents. At this present time, we're not seeing an immediate need for that, but that is always an option, and I'd be glad if any county board member wants to meet and talk about that available option. I'll be glad to discuss that with you, or if the committee someday in the future desires to understand a little bit more how the law was changed in order to accommodate the county board to evaluate any type of increases in the local option. The county tax levies, these primarily go into operations. It also is the primary technical staffing source of funding where our half of our personnel is paid out of the highway levy. We also, under the bridge levy, almost 100% of that goes towards bridge inspections. And then reimbursements, these are generally when we do get federal and potentially state funding. It's mostly federal projects that we move forward. We do receive some of those federal reimbursements. And then the toll revenue, this is only for the aspects of the revenue that we actually receive. The estimated toll collection is for more than what's shown here. This is what we receive that would go towards the Long Meadow maintenance and operation aspects. And then impact fees, this is for capital projects only. We probably get on average, at least in the last 10 years, probably about $1.5 million a year from impact fees. And that's the total sum approximately countywide is about $1.5 million a year. And then investments, that's a small percentage of our overall, and then our contractual project obligations. This is a large dollar amount, but this is the actual obligations that we currently have. If you look at some of the financial spreadsheets that Ms. Hopkinson provides to you on a monthly basis, you'll see that we have, even right now, contractual agreements that are actually in place for over $80 million or approximately $80 million. So that $102 million includes that $80 million, as well as there's other obligations for the funding. We've received certain federal funds, and there's other obligations that add up to that $102 million that is projected. So this is a big picture overview of our estimated revenue. You can, this is came right out of our transportation improvement program that the county board approved a week or so ago. It shows you what percentage of our budget approximately is estimated over the next 5 years towards each one of these revenue sources. And so I just wanted to give an overview. If you have any specific questions, I can take them now in that regard, but I also want to mention too, I'll always be glad to meet. I do have one more slide, unless you want to talk about this slide first.
Okay. Mr. Caius?
So,
I bet I know which one it is.
oh, no, 2 points. Oh,
Okay.
thanks, Drew. I forgot about that one. Oh, by the way, yeah, the question is, was this in our packet? I didn't see it. I think it went past it. Was this?
No, this is just kind of a summary overview as we're moving towards budget. I just wanted to share some information. I can send this out.
I think that'd be great. It makes a great summary, quick reference for board members that are asked by their constituents to come up with without having to go through. And I admire the people that go through all that granular data, but I may not be one of those people. I'm sorry. And then second was that, of course, the toll is a sunsetted toll. Is that correct?
That is what the county board has directed staff to do, is to work towards ultimately getting rid of the toll. Yes.
Thank you.
Under toll revenue, it says Long Meadow maintenance and operations, but some of that's going towards debt retirement, correct?
The debt retirement is a separate amount that we never actually receive, so it's not included in this revenue. That the debt retirement goes automatically outside. This goes towards directly the operations of the toll collection, as well as the maintenance of Long Meadow Parkway, and we estimate that there will also be some revenues that can help to pay off the toll sooner.
Okay, so that line item is just the tolling expenses and so forth. I mean, it's not, it's only that portion of the actual toll.
Yeah, it's primarily the tolling operations, the tolling expenses, but it also includes some monies available for the actual structure maintenance, where we can set aside some money for the future maintenance. And again, there should also potentially be some monies too that can be set aside to pay off, I think I said the toll, but to pay off the debt service sooner rather than later.
Okay, and then as far as the big picture, what's the timeline on the budget process?
You know, Kathy, timeline, we have to have everything submitted by June something? June 15th.
15, okay, that's right around the corner. Oh, okay, any other questions for Tom on this portion of the presentation?
Question, Copey.
Mr. Copey, go ahead. Go ahead,
Thank
Mr.
you,
Copey.
Chairman. Tom, it is quite impressive how much work you guys have to do there at the county and how massive the challenge is. And it always gets tougher when there's a crunch for money. And we're experiencing some strange economic fundamentals going on recently, you know, with this quantitative easing for quantitative easing going on for 10 years, and now we've got the COVID virus relief and so on and so forth. Trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars on top of trillions going into the markets. It's causing inflationary pressure. And I'm probably speaking to the choir, but there's a point to this. Our costs are going up. Our revenue is not. Year to year, back to back. Are we showing, by the time you add in all that, factor in all the inflation, the increased costs, are we in a crunch for revenue? Mr. Sanchez has brought it up on several occasions. A couple other board members brought it up. Is a tax increase going to have to be required? What is your feeling on that?
You know, I as a staff person, I always try to be careful stepping into any type of discussion relative to recommended policy without kind of vetting it first and spending some time really trying to show the committee and the county board where we stand financially. I will tell you that over time, since I first started working with the county, our primary levy was, or our primary funding source was the county tax levies. And this was an area that for at least the last 10 or 11 years that we have frozen in order to assist the general fund in increases that were needed for other departments. So the county tax levies have been frozen. At the same time, we've worked very closely with looking at other potential revenue sources, bringing in state and federal funds. During my time here, we implemented the local option motor fuel tax in order to assist with the needs. When I first started working here, just resurfacing was about $25 to $28 a ton, and now it's $75 to $80 a ton. The costs of just resurfacing our roadways have almost tripled in the time I've been here. The motor fuel tax, the local side of that was something that didn't exist, and we were able to get the legislation approved. And now recently, as part of the capital bill, we were able to get that approved to increase it if the county board sometime in the future needs to. We're not making any recommendations in the upcoming budget in that aspect. But I think if you saw the transportation improvement program that was approved by the county board had $190 million shortfall over the next 5 to 10 years. So there is a need for funding, and all of that we'll be discussing from year to year so that you have a full understanding of potential impact to maintenance. The other tax that was put in place was the RTA sales tax. I spent a lot of time down in Springfield working with the RTA, with our legislators over a decade ago in order to implement the RTA sales tax. Now that's our primary funding source, and 2/3 of that money is spent on maintenance. So you can see that the costs have increased significantly, and that from over decade to decade, we've adequately addressed the needs in order to meet the needs of the motoring public and the safety and maintenance requirements. So at this point in time, again, there's no recommendation on the staff part. We plan on having a balanced budget and no recommendation for any type of tax increase. Speaking to the future, we will be looking at this more thoroughly and working with committee members.
And one of the other challenges is with the electric vehicles and the improved mileage of modern cars, the motor fuel tax is going down. So, but as Tom said earlier, we're at 4 cents right now on the local option motor fuel tax, and we can go up to 8, so we could double it, but there's no plan to do that right now.
Mr. Chairman?
Tom, does that answer your question?
It does, but just to cap off my concern, if I may, we can cut services to balance the budget till the cows come home, and if we have a vision to develop our county as we have in the past, and Tom, you've done a fantastic job for years and years. You are commended, but please don't let this vision falter because we're not willing to talk about revenue streams. So bring that up to us. It's a harsh reality. It's going to have to be dealt with eventually. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Mr. Caius?
Yeah, thank you, Caius here. Just to further your point, Drew, or ask further on that, you said that we were going to have a shortfall in the future. How much and we've kept our local motor fuel tax the same, how much have we lost from less fuel being consumed at this point? You see a steady, you have like figures on that for?
Kathy does present quite a few charts and stuff, and COVID has been a significant impact. We've seen decreases in the local option motor fuel tax, in the motor fuel tax itself, in the impact fees. So because of COVID, there's that aspect. I have not done, and maybe this is something that Kathy and myself can look into. I haven't really looked at the lost aspect of our ability to do maintenance and capital projects at this point in time. We generally have approached it by trying to find those additional revenue sources that we've talked about. Maybe that's something we can explore a little bit. And
It's a shifting thing, so it'd be nice to see how that's shifting in a decline versus the expenses that are, you said, went from $25 to $78 or something.
yeah.
Yeah, so.
Just be careful. Us Prius drivers are a large group.
So it's Nero drivers.
Mr. Barton lobbying for the,
And those Chevy Volts. Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question, Bates, please?
go ahead.
I was wondering if our lights are synchronized on our county roads. Have we synchronized those lights? Because that can save pollution and gas.
Yeah, on our major arterials, Kirk, Fabian, and Randall Road, our signals are synchronized. And in the last couple years, you probably have also seen additional improvements that are going on where we have essentially, and it's called adaptive signals that we've been putting in. It's a synchronization with immediate computer assessment. Kurt Nika, our Chief of Traffic Operations, is here, and maybe he can explain that a little bit. But we are spending infrastructure funds on making sure that the latest technology is out there to assist in those areas.
Great. And I have another question, please. Do we have plans for more electric vehicle chargers as part of the transportation system? And that could be a potential source of revenue. You can put a credit card slot on those. Is that somewhere in our near future, maybe?
Over the years, there have been discussions about potential state and federal funding of projects like that, and the pros and cons. Over the last 2 years, those discussions have not been part of the regional discussions, but that's something I'd be glad to look into and kind of see where that's all moving towards.
Maybe the Environmental Committee, Energy and Environment, could help with that.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
Mr. Nika, did you want to chime in at all, or on that first question, I guess it was?
I think Tom handled it pretty well, but just to zero in on the question, yes, all of our signals along Randall, Kirk, Fabian, and the major corridors do have specific timing plans throughout the day that do seek to minimize the travel time. And I think maybe it's an opportunity at some point to, when things are back to normal, to visit our arterial operations center. And if you're interested to see the video wall and see those things in action.
Yeah, maybe sometime if you haven't seen it yet, you should talk to Tom and visit the Arterial Operations Center. That was a big investment. And also the county's made a long-term investment in our fiber optics network, which helped with the signalization issues up and down Randall.
Great. I mean, this is a big way to stop air pollution, to keep those cars moving instead of idling. So great, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Caius?
Yeah, just, I may be mistaken. I was reading through this and I can't remember where it was at. There was a long training required to operate the lights, to implement them. Are they implemented now, the signal lights? We're working on it, right?
I'm going to turn that over to Kurt.
You're asking about the adaptive traffic signal?
Yes, I think that's it.
Right. So all the infrastructure has been put in, but it hasn't been brought online yet. That'll be in another month or two. we structured that program so that there was an initial optimization report produced that will allow us to really honestly compare the before and the after. So that initial study is happening now, and then we'll flip the switch and then look at it afterwards and compare the two.
We still should see a significant improvement then, is that when we still have improvement that's on the way?
That's
Yeah,
the
is
plan,
what-
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, because I would get stuck on that going north on by 90. I'm hoping it gets better than that already, because
Hey.
we haven't got back to full strength yet after COVID.
You know, some of that deals directly though with roadway capacity. We're doing the best that we can with traffic technology, but ultimately you're going to have the additional lanes in order to not have those parking lots during the peak hours.
So you're talking about 90 in Randall?
Yeah, and south.
Yeah.
Yeah, 90 in Randall especially, but also coming south, a mile or two. But I think that's going to be the most effect.
There are significant, Mike Sokozik, our chief of design, and his staff, Jennifer O'Connell and others, are working on a number of large projects in those areas to assist with those major intersections,
Yeah.
as well as the toll interchange there.
Okay. If there's no further questions on that issue, thanks, Tom. We'll move on to our first couple of resolutions. I think I'll take these both together. 5B and C are both resolutions approving personnel replacement and hiring. So can I have a motion for those two?
Martin moves.
Mr.
Caius
Martin moves. Who second?
Caius?
Caius seconds. Tom?
I'm going to turn this over to Jennifer
Oh,
Becker,
I'm sorry, Jennifer.
our deputy chief of staff.
Good morning. So we have two positions that we have currently open on staff, and we're seeking approval to start the recruiting and hiring process. The first one is for a civil engineer, and based on the discussion we just had with our work and our need for staff to make those projects happen, we need to fill a position for a civil engineer, works in all phases of design. And this particular position will be working with the bridge inventory program, which is really essential. The second is a regional planning liaison, and it's important to note that this position is 50% federally funded through CMAP under a contract. The position staffs the Kane-Kendall Council of Mayors, which is a consortium of 34 municipalities in both counties. And we are requesting approval of both, please.
Okay. And these are both replacements, so we're just replacing open positions. Any questions or Tom?
Yeah, I just had one more comment that we're going to write the civil engineer position so that it's flexible. It will be a civil engineer 1 to civil engineer 3, and it's primarily so that, first of all, as I've mentioned to the committee in the past, it's very difficult to find civil engineers right now, and we want to create the flexibility so that if we do find somebody that's a new start, quote unquote, or somebody with experience, our hope is somebody with experience, but we're making it
Some
flexible.
flexibility. Okay, if there's no other questions.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
just wanted to
Caius?
point out, I think the second position is 50% supported by the CMAP, right? Is that what I read? So,
Yeah.
The second
Just the
position,
second
yes.
yeah, so, good.
Okay, so we're voting on both A and B. So roll call, please.
Berman,
Or B and C, I'm sorry.
Igbo,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Kopi,
Kopi, yes.
Oniki,
Yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
passes.
Okay, Mr. Berman, did you want to?
yes.
Berman, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Berman.
So the two resolutions pass. We'll move on to item 6, maintenance report from Tom.
Nothing of significance. We are starting our mowing program. That's probably the biggest thing I wanted to mention. And there's always different comments from the public that comes out. Some of the grass is starting to get tall, but our maintenance guys do a great job throughout the year on the mowing.
Okay. Any questions from Tom on maintenance? If not, we'll move on to 6B, resolution approving adopt a highway program applicants. Take a motion in a second. Mr. Martin, Mr. Kenyon. Tom?
Yeah, just quickly, I like to always mention the applicants. New applicants include Tiny and Tall Rescue, the Boy Scout Troop 13, Team Awesome, and the Seiler family, and then a renew applicant, John Sanfilippo.
I'd like to know more about Team Awesome. That sounds pretty cool.
They must be awesome. I think they're doing 3 miles both ways.
Yeah, they are awesome. Okay, questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Igbo,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Guys, yes.
Kopi, Oniki.
Kopi, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Kopi. Moniki.
yes.
Martin.
Martin, yes.
Passes.
Okay. Next resolution approving the 2021 purchase of ice control salt. Need a motion and a second. Moved by Wonnicki, second by Caius. Tom?
Yeah, this is our annual purchase of salt, and we worked in coordination with the purchasing department. We try to do our best to manage the pricing fluctuations of salt. We feel like we've done a good job with that this year. There is treated and untreated salt, so there's 2 vendors that got the low bids on this. And the untreated is basically for our own treatment operations that our maintenance department does. And so staff is recommending approval. Again, this is our annual. It's an appropriation of $1,253,748.
And then we let building maintenance piggyback with us, and then does Forest Preserve also?
We do try to coordinate and sometimes do that in concert.
Any further questions or comments, Mr. Caius?
Yeah, just real quick. I asked for Mavis. This is on behalf of Mavis Bates. We want to be sure we're as economically sound as possible, also as environmentally responsible as possible. So I assuming you're investigating all the possibilities of removing treacherous ice without putting salt on and minimizing our applications.
Yeah, I think if you look at our operations compared to 5, 10, 20, 30 years ago, it continues to change and adjust to address those types of needs, as well as to maintain a high level of safety for the motoring public.
Thank you. What's the treatment that they put on them? Is it an extra potassium salt or something?
No, I
It's
wish.
beet juice, isn't it?
In this case, it's not the beet juice. I'd have to talk to our maintenance department.
That's okay, but we need to move on.
Thank you, Mr. Caius.
For the vendor, they use a couple different products, but for this one, it'll be a mag chloride and carbohydrate. And the carbohydrate is corn syrup. Hey, corn syrup.
Mavis?
We're farmers, right?
Yeah, so that makes the Ag Committee happy and the Environmental
Committee, yeah.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second, so roll call.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Igbo,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Kopi,
Kopi, yes.
Oniki.
Yes.
Martin.
Martin, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, for item 7, we're going to move over to Jackie Forbes. This is the planning and programming report and one resolution.
Morning, everyone. In your packet is the planning and programming report for this month. I'm highlighting our comprehensive road improvement plan update or our impact fee program update. I'll touch a little bit more on this in item 7B, but we had to move our public hearing date from June 9th now to the end of July. So we're working on that currently and doing some other items to continue moving that whole process forward. You also have a copy of the Kane Kendall Council of Mayors newsletter at your place. Or it was in the packet. Highlighted in there are various funding opportunities. And I also wanted to point out that there were 2 dashboards. One from Metra that allows you to go online and see how crowded different cars are at different times now that people are starting to go back to the office in the city. They have providing the service so you can take a look and decide if you want to take the train or not back down to the city or take a different time. And then the RTA dashboard has been up there probably since June of last year. That gives you information on all the service boards, so CTA, Metra, and PACE and their performance. They also have launched a new data hub that you can go to find various transit related data throughout the region. And that's my report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Jackie? If not, we'll take the resolution under planning and programming. This is for reestablishing, as she mentioned, the public hearing date for the land use assumptions. So I need a motion and a second. Mr.
Martin
Kenyon moves, Mr. Martin seconds. If there's no questions or comments, roll call.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Igbo,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Copy,
Hopi, yes.
Winnicke,
Yes.
Martin.
Martin, yes.
Thank you.
Resolution passes, and we'll move back to Kurt Nika for the traffic operations and permitting report.
Yes, so included in your packet is the pretty typical traffic and permitting report. It lists the major access projects that are currently under design and construction via the permit process. And of course, there's always the typical reports for permit activity comparing last year to this year. I guess I would just call out one particular major access project that is kicking into gear this week. It is Randall and Woodward Drive. That's in St. Charles. It's just north of 64. Channelization, a new signal, but it links in an existing road that stops short of Randall that has connectivity to the west of Randall. So that should be starting this week in earnest.
Okay, thank you. That's by the new car dealership going in there,
Right.
north of 64. Okay, under traffic ops, we have a resolution approving permit software and implementation services contract. So I need a motion and a second.
Caius, move.
Moved by Mr. Caius, second by
Winnicke,
Ms.
second.
Winnicke. Kurt, were you going to handle that or? Yeah, so back to Kurt.
This one's near and dear to my heart. It is an agreement for a new permit software for KDOT's uses. It'll help our staff better review, approve, document permit activities in the right-of-way. We use the request for proposal process. We received 3 proposals, and the evaluation team reviewed them, contacted references, used and ultimately scored the vendors. And so Burns Software Technologies ended up with the highest score.
Okay. Questions or comments? If not, roll call.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Igbo,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Copy,
Hopi, yes.
Winnicke,
Yes.
Martin.
Martin, yes.
Thank you.
Resolution passes. We move on to a project implementation report to Steve Koffenbarger.
The IMP report shows a lot of our larger active design projects along with our active construction projects. One item I want to bring to your attention that for the Randall Road at US 20 interchange project, which is a feasibility study, which has sort of been renamed to a PEL, that we're having a public information meeting on Thursday, June 3rd at 6 p.m. Information will be made available on the project website prior to that meeting of the information that'll be shared that evening. We're also collecting public comments during the public meeting and afterwards too. They can be submitted later on. Unless there's any questions, I'll move on to the photos.
PEL is an acronym for what?
Planning and
linkage. What's the
environmental
first word?
linkages.
Say that again?
Planning and environmental linkages.
Okay.
Is a
Thought I
new-
stumped you.
A new process.
Thank you.
Jennifer.
It's supposed to help more quickly develop a project in from this feasibility stage into a phase 1, where a lot of our work in a feasibility study had to be redone in a phase 1 previously. This new PEL process allows us to bring that work with us into phase one so that we don't have to redo some of it once we get to phase one in a project.
Thank you. So back to Steve for the photos.
So a couple photos today showing Long Meadow Parkway C2, which is from Sandbloom Williams to Illinois 25. Top left, you can see the structure that's being constructed from the gap where Sandbloom Williams is to the left, and then to the right where we will meet at grade to the east there. And then we're also planting trees and evergreens along that corridor. And the next project is Bliss over Lake Run Drainage Ditch, and that's a culvert replacement that is a staged construction. So you can see that half the structure is open while we work on the other half. Some bridge and culvert projects, the condition of the roadway, the width of the roadway allows for staged construction, and other times we need to close the road and do a detour and such to expedite and have safe construction practices. So this one is staged. And then the last project is the Ellithorpe Culvert Replacement Project. You can see the old culvert that's been removed, and then the excavation that's occurring to accommodate the new box culverts.
All
I have for you.
Mr. Martin had a question?
That Bliss Road culvert that's being replaced over the ditch or creek or whatever it is that going to, once that roundabout goes in, is that still going to be maintained as a county road, or does the county abandon that and it becomes township, or what happens?
Correct. That will become a township road as part at the conclusion of the Bliss Fabian Lane roundabout project.
All right, thanks. I actually had a constituent ask me that question.
You want your name on it?
Martin Stubb.
Martin's, yeah.
Question, please.
Ms. Bates?
Mr. So with that old culvert, how's that disposed of? Can that be recycled at all?
It's included.
Don't laugh, Dale. This is serious.
It's included in the contract, so the GC has to remove that, and what they do with it, I'm sure they make the best use of it as they can. So that's reflected in the bid prices that we receive on the construction contract, but we don't have to go through the process of getting rid of it ourselves. It's lumped in with that contract, so.
Do we check stuff like that in the contract when we take it? Maybe that'd be a good idea.
No, they're in the profit business. So, the thought is that they would make the best use of that, and
okay, if they can recycle it or
yeah,
dispose
the metal culverts are 100% recyclable. The concrete culverts, which have metal in them, are 100% recyclable. So it's really the only logical way to dispose of them.
That'd be a big lump in a landfill somewhere. Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions for Steve? Okay, if not, we're going to move to Jennifer O'Connell for our next resolution. This is approving a wet bank credit purchase.
In order to obtain the United States Army Corps of Engineers permit for the Bliss Main Fabian project, we are required to mitigate the wetland that will be impacted for that project. And in the process of the permit approval, the Army Corps has required 2 different mitigation ratios of us. I don't have that in our summary up here, but we're impacting 0.05 acres of stream. They're requiring us to mitigate that at a 1 to 1.5 ratio. And we're also impacting 0.287 acres of wetland. And they are requiring us to mitigate that wetland at a 1 to 3 ratio. And that was not anticipated in our phase 1 planning of this project. We assumed we'd also be required to mitigate that at a 1 to 1.5 ratio as well. But the Army Corps has identified that wetland as an aided wetland, meaning that it's got high function values with regard to biological and water quality and stormwater storage. So this additional expense is for that higher mitigation credit. Just down the street from us is the Gray Willows Mitigation Bank, and they are the only mitigation bank in this watershed that has the full near acre that we need to mitigate this project. So we're requesting additional funds to mitigate for that acre of mitigation that we need from the wetland bank for this project.
Okay, thank you. Of interest on this project is this is exactly what we recently approved at Forest Preserve to create a wetlands bank. So in this case, we're purchasing it from Campton Township Open Space. They created one. We're buying credits from them. In the future, we'll be able to purchase from our own Forest Preserve. Questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Caius?
Caius, yes. Yeah, I think it says in the short section there that this is the only place you can get in that Fox watershed, right? So we have to buy it from them. So hopefully we'll be able to provide that with the Kane County Forest Preserve in the future. Now, the ratios you're talking about, it says the USAC has determined a mitigation ratio of 2.78 to 1. Is that?
Yeah, I'm really sorry. I think that I rounded when I created this to.
That's just an average, or?
We need to mitigate 0.287 acres of wetland impact. And so at a 1-to-1 ratio, I think that's where I accidentally typed that number in. I'm sorry about that. It is 0.287 acres of wetland mitigated at a 1-to-3 ratio. So that mitigation with the stream impact mitigation altogether adds up to 0.936 acres, which also equals 0.936 wetland mitigation credits.
Just to note that that could be changed in our process when it goes to the next committee. Is that, I mean, not that it would affect it a whole lot, I guess, if we've done it, but
Yes, we can make that change.
thank you.
Other questions or comments? Ms. Wodnicki?
Just a comment. I'm a little on the fence if I should abstain on this, and I think I will. Just
Because you're
for the
connected with
record.
Campton Township Open Space.
Yeah, I've been so involved with Campton Township Open Space. Of course, I'm not on the board or anything, but I just feel more comfortable abstaining, so.
No problem.
Yeah.
If there's no questions.
Question, please.
Okay, we have Kopi first.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Thank
Tom.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Since we have
We can't hear you, Tom. Tom, we lost your voice there.
Oh, good. Am I good?
Okay, Tom, I'm going to have to go to Ms. Bates, and then we'll see if you can get your microphone straightened out. Ms. Bates, go ahead.
Okay.
So these ratios, does that mean like if we destroy 1 acre, we have to replace it with 3 acres or something like that? Is that what the ratios mean?
Yeah, I would use the word impacted rather than destroyed.
Sorry,
It's, you know,
impacted.
but yes, yeah, they're requiring us to mitigate by buying 3 times the amount
Okay,
of acreage that we've impacted.
that's interesting. Okay, thanks.
Tom, are you back?
It's the,
How's my connection? Is it good?
That's 100% better.
Oh, thank you. Since we approved the banking system at the Forest Preserve, I thought that there was some language that we could actually bank the banking until the project had gotten underway. In other words, it didn't have to be 100% capitalized and built before we could start establishing some banking agreements. Is it possible, or am I misunderstood that we can utilize the Forest Preserve's banking system?
Because the Forest Preserve project doesn't currently exist at this point, but I'm not sure if we could buy futures.
We've had discussions that have started with the Forest Preserve in regards to what we might be able to do. A lot of this is regulated, as Ms. O'Connell said, by the Corps of Engineers. And so we need to make sure whatever process that we might be able to do, that we're doing it appropriately so that the credits count. And so we are looking into what we might be able to do to assist the Forest Preserve sooner rather than later. But that's all speculative right now.
Yeah, so there's a possibility, Tom, that KDOT could possibly buy rights to have in our back pocket for future projects, but we have to make sure that that can be done legally.
Yeah.
Ms. Wonicky?
Yeah, just Campton Township has had an active wetland banking program for probably 8 to 10 years now. So I think,
At this, is there another location? Wasn't there one on Balcom Road or?
the other one is Headwaters over on Beath
Headwaters.
Road at Beath, right near Anderson. That one's getting almost filled, but yeah,
So
Yeah,
there's
we called them for a price. They didn't have enough to sell us.
it's a great program. Thank you.
there is demand for it, and it does have to be from the same watershed.
Right.
So they'll both projects will be a good thing. So I have a motion and a second, so roll call.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Igbo,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Kopi,
Kopi, yes.
Winnicke,
Abstain.
Martin.
Martin, yes.
Thank you.
It passes. Items C, D, and E are all contracts for construction. So Steve, we'll turn it back to you to go through those.
Right, the first one is Dundee Township Road District. We opened bids in late April. 4 bids were open to do resurfacing. The lowest responsible bidder and lowest qualified bid was submitted by Arrow Road of $199,000 and change. Since this is funded with township MFT funds, it requires Transportation Committee and County Board approval. Staff recommends award.
Okay, so this is Dundee Township. I'll take a motion in a second.
Caius, move.
Moved by Caius, second by Wonicky. Questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Igbo,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Kopi,
Kopi, yes.
Winnicke,
Yes.
Martin.
Martin, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, item D is a resolution approving a contract for construction with Maintenance Coatings of South Elgin for a urethane pavement marking program. I need a motion and a second.
Martin moves.
Mr. Martin moves.
Caius, second.
Caius seconds. Steve?
This is the county's annual urethane striping that would occur on our higher traffic roads. We received 4 bids. Lowest qualified bid was submitted by Maintenance Coating of $432,000 and change. Staff recommends approval.
Okay. So did we roll call that already?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Igbo,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Kopi,
Kopi, yes.
Winnicke,
Yes.
Martin.
Was that one moved, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, that was,
Okay.
I think Martin and Caius. Right. So item E, a resolution approving another contract for construction with Aretha Construction for bridge deck repairs on the Kirk Road. Need a motion and a second. Moved by Mr. Martin, second by Mr. Caius.
Sure.
Steve?
As our replacement and widening project trudges through the IDOT and federal approval process, we need to do a deck patching project on this to extend the life of this structure till we get to the point where we can let our ultimate improvement. The lowest qualified corrected bid of $166,000 was submitted by Aretha, as you mentioned. This project will be done this year and staff recommends approval.
Seems like we just did that. Or is it just because I'm getting older?
Work on that last year.
Yeah. So second round.
Yes.
Okay. Questions or comments? If not, roll call.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Igbo, Dr. Igbo, Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Kopi,
Kopi, yes.
Winnicke,
Yes.
Martin.
Martin, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, item F is a resolution approving an on-call agreement with Thomas Engineering for on-call traffic safety engineering services. Need a motion and a second. Moved by Mr. Kenyon, second by Mr. Caius.
Sure.
Uh,
Caius, second.
Steve?
On-call contracts such as this help supplement our county staff with experts in the field who do on-call task-oriented studies. And so they can, in this particular case with traffic and safety engineering, we can do speed studies, safety studies, intersection control studies, review engineering plans and such, so that it helps assist and supplement our staff. This particular on-call is for a 3-year contract. We went through the QBS process and selected Thomas Engineering Group for this contract for your consideration.
Okay. Mr. Caius?
It's not to exceed 400,000, right, per year? Not to exceed? It's, the 400,000 is not to exceed 400,000 in engineering.
3 years not to exceed. It's on a task order basis. We don't necessarily use it all, but it's available to staff as needed.
Thank you.
Okay, roll call.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Igbo, Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius.
Iqbal, yes.
Thank you, Dr. Igbo. Kopi. Mr. Kopi.
Yes.
Winnicke,
Yes.
Martin.
Martin, yes.
Thank you.
I don't think I got it out, but Caius, yes.
Caius, sorry, Mr. Caius.
Right.
Okay, I need a motion and a second to replace our various reports we've been given today on file. Mr.
Caius move.
Mr. Martin.
I'll second.
Mr. Caius. Okay, seconds. Roll call.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Igbo,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Kopi. Winnicke,
Yes.
Martin.
Martin, yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes. We have no need for executive session today. Is there any public comment on non-agenda items? None in person? Anybody online? None online? Is there anything from the committee? If not, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Moved by Mr. Kenyon, second by Mr. Martin. Roll call.
All in favor? Aye.
Favor say aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor, say aye.
Roll call to one. Aye.
Passes unanimously. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Tom, I think you re-educate people every freaking
We had a
meeting.
presentation. This is.
Oh, they must forget. I wrote Nate's. If you want to see what happens if you don't coordinate, drive on Route 59. Stop, start, stop,